Hey, thanks, guys. Excited to be here. My first combine as GM, and happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Eric, is there any progress in TJ Mosley negotiations? Are you still confident that you'll be able to lock him up and see what he goes?
Well, we hope so. I think conversations are ongoing. The combine's a great opportunity for us to meet with his agents. Obviously, CJ is a critical part of our team, a big part of our defense. We hope that we can bring him back next year, and we have expectations that we'll have some progress this week.
Eric, have you talked with Terrell Suggs, and how do you balance his past accomplishments?
Well, I think Sis is definitely a guy that we want back, and this is a good opportunity for us to meet with his agents this week, which will happen in the next few days. He's a guy that means a lot to our franchise, I think, as a player, but also as a leader, and I would love to have him back next year.
With these free agents like Terrell and Mosley, what's your confidence in bringing back Jimmy Smith and Eric West and some of the veterans?
Well, those guys are under contract, as you know. We've got to be as responsible, I think, as we can with the salary cap. Try to free up as much money as we can to make moves moving forward. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, so to speak. I think we've had a lot of different discussions on what's the best move for the club moving forward with different players, veteran players, younger players. We've tried to sign some younger players. We did that last week with Tavon Austin, bringing him back on a 4-year contract, 3-year extension. We're excited about that, and I think you'll see some more moves coming forward.
Eric, from a team building standpoint, I know you guys don't have kicker problems, but when it comes to team building, the thought process of choosing a draft pick or a kicker, how would you value that in your head?
Well, I think, we did that one time with Sam Cook way back when, and it worked out pretty well for us. I think if you've got a guy that you have a lot of conviction about as a kicker/punter, then if you have the pick to do it, you feel like you can get him in the right spot, then I think it's something that you should definitely consider doing.
Eric, you guys have had a lot of turnover at the wide receiver positions past couple of years. With Lamar being established as the starting QB, I guess what is the importance of having four that's going to be there for years?
Well, we'd love to bring in some young guys and have them develop a relationship with Lamar Jackson moving forward. We drafted a couple guys last year. We're excited about those guys moving forward. We think a good offseason is going to really, pay dividends with both Jaleel and also, lastly, Jordan. We've got to add playmakers, and that could be playmakers at the tight end position. I think we addressed that last year to a degree, the running back position, the wide receiver position, guys that can work with Lamar, take some of the burden off of Lamar, and make plays in critical situations. That'll always be, I think, a priority for us moving forward and something we hope to do this year.
When you think year two with Lamar, what kind of vision do you have for the layout?
Well, I think he's going to improve in every area. I think the offseason is going to be huge for him. Just getting more comfortable with the offense, which will be different under Greg Roman. I think, developing more of a rapport with his wide receivers and the tight ends, the verbiage of the offense, working on his mechanics. I think we've got a really, really good plan for Lamar in the offseason. He's got a great attitude, a tremendous work ethic. He's excited about the challenge, and we think he's going to make big strides this year.
What is that plan? What are some of the things that you want to plan?
Well, right now he's working. He's working with some different people, helping him with some things just to try and improve some of his things that he wants to improve on. He'll come in. I expect that he'll be part of the off-season program, working with us day to day, getting stronger, getting faster, working on his mechanics, working on just building a relationship with the receivers and tight ends day to day in the facility. The OTAs would be a critical step for him as well, working with the younger guys and anybody that we bring in. And I think just a year of experience in the pro-style offense. He made great strides last year, I think, from training camp all the way through to the end of the season, and we expect that to continue.
Clubs seem to be talking more and more about finding team-first guys, beyond the obvious stuff. What are maybe some of the clues you look for to figure out if a guy fits that bill?
Well, that's a challenge. I think every team's trying to find that in every sport and every professional league. Trying to find guys that really have that get-it quality. They come in right away and assimilate as teammates, that have the personality, the drive, the determination, the self-motivation, all those grit factors, the growth mindset. And we try and look at interviews, the interview process, whether we do that in the formal interview setting here at the All-Star Games, talking to our coaches, bringing players to our facility, talking to people who know the players. Teams will use personality profiling and various different testing methods to get that information as well. And you kind of put it all together, and it works as a mosaic. And you really get, I think, a picture for who the player is and how he responds to adversity and resiliency and all those types of things. And try to draft as many of those guys and sign as many of those guys as you can.
Eric, is the Franchise tag
I think we'll look at all the different tools to help us build the roster. And if the franchise tag is something that we would consider, then we'll have the opportunity to consider that. But, I mean, I think our preference would always be to do a long-term deal with a player like CJ. He's a great player. We have to use every means to build our team that we can, whether that's the draft, free agency, undrafted free agency, looking at prospective trades, all the different tools that we have that the league offers us to build our team, we'll consider.
Eric, you had a lot of defensive free agents and other couple of defensive starters that you mentioned as potential salary cap cuts. How important is it to keep the group that was number one in the NFL together going forward, especially as offense is sort of like under renovation?
Well, I think, Jeff, we like to be as strong as we can on all sides of the football, offense, defense, special teams. I think that's a critical thing with us. And historically, we've been a team that's been built on defense, and I think we take pride in that. I think our fan base takes pride in that. And we always want to be the strongest defense we can be, understanding that the salary cap does place parameters on us that aren't always easy to work with, to keep all your best players. We live in a salary cap age. So we've got to find the right combination of players that we can keep, the right combination of players that we can bring back. You know, young players, we want to keep as much young talent as we can. We've said that this offseason. We started to do that. I think that's a really big thing for us moving forward, is trying to keep our young talent in Baltimore if possible.
How quick is the process of getting Tavon Young signed?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've kind of thought about that. We had some meetings down in Jupiter talking about some things that we wanted to do moving forward with the team. And in that particular case, I've got a really good relationship with Adisa Bakari, Tavon's agent. And so anytime you have a relationship with an agent, it's a nice way to kind of start the dialogue and start the discussion. It was something that I think was important to Tavon and Adisa. As an organization, we felt really, really strongly about Tavon and what he brings to the organization, not only from a playing standpoint, but also from a character, background standpoint, a local kid. We knew a lot about him. He's a good fit for us, and we were able to get it done over the course of probably 2 weeks.
Eric, you mentioned trades earlier. How much interest was there in Flacco when those phone calls started coming in? And just what was that market like before you made a decision?
Well, we haven't made any decisions yet. I think, as you guys know, the NFL league year starts on the 13th. So I would say this, that we get a lot of phone calls from different teams during the season, after the season, prior to the season regarding players. And we have these discussions. We talk about, you know, the positives and negatives about making these moves. And I think in regards to any trades that we may or may not be, you know, doing over the next couple months, we'll talk about that. We'll start dialogue on that March 13th.
With a player like Flacco, would you expect there to be a lot of interest in him if he were going to be available?
Well, it's a quarterback league, for sure. And I think what we've seen is that, you know, teams covet quarterbacks in general, whether that's draft picks. You see players every year teams trade up to take these quarterbacks in the draft. We did it last year with Lamar. And I think historically in the offseason, too, with unrestricted free agents, there's always a market for those quarterbacks.
Noticed an increase in veteran trades the last few years with the salary cap being going up so much. That's a little easier to pull those off.
You do see more trades. I think, you know, obviously there's a salary component associated with those trades. It's got to work for both teams. You know, as I said, we get a lot of calls, and sometimes you have the opportunity to do it because you have the cap room or the structure works for you, and other times you simply can't do it. But you have a lot of opportunities. You know, we don't make as many trades probably in football as other sports do. I think the opportunity is there, and it's really getting creative and getting flexible and having an opportunity to do it if you want to do it.
Eric, have you any thoughts with the agents for Weddle and Jimmy Smith about potential contract alterations or ways to keep them around while easing maybe the salary cap burden?
Well, we have good relationships with those agents, and we have good relationships, I think, with all the agents who represent players in our team. And we have a lot of dialogue, whether it's before the season, during the season sometimes, after the season certainly, about our players with agents regarding a lot of different things, sometimes contract, sometimes how they're playing, sometimes other sort of things out there. And those are ongoing. And, you know, one of my main responsibilities at the Combine is to meet with agents. And so Pat Moriarty and myself and Nick Matteo and Ozzie, we will spend probably half the week meeting with different agents regarding our players to talk about various issues, contracts, and other things to make our team better.
Eric, when you're back in the building, will you consult with them about draft prospects? What's your philosophy on that sort of thing?
My philosophy is probably Lamar's got a lot to work on this year, and I don't know that really consulting with him on draft picks this year is something that would be, prudent for the organization. I have and we have discussed with players on our team over the years. It doesn't happen a lot, but we do obviously respect our players and their opinions on the team. It's important, I think, to have those kind of relationships, particularly with veteran players on the team. In Lamar's specific case, I think he's got a lot of things to focus on, and I think that's probably the most important thing.
Hey, Eric, on a personal note, what's it like for you as a kid from talking, standing up here as GM finally of the Baltimore Ravens?
It's exciting. I've had a lot of time to think about it over the years. From the time I was, 6 or 7 years old, I've always dreamed about being a general manager and being in this position. And fortunately been blessed to have some great mentors in my life and people like Ozzie Newsome who have helped me and guided me and provided me with a great perspective on how to succeed and the things to do, and kind of have helped shaped my own personal feelings on how to build a team. And it's definitely gratifying. I also feel the pressure, and I think we've got a great staff of scouts and coaches that work with me every day to support me and help us all make the right decisions. So it's fun.
When you were 6 or 7, you dreamed of being a GM, not
Yeah.
an athlete? Or
Well, I always was really intrigued by, building a team. And I've said this, I was a Cowboys fan in the late 70s and just loved the draft with Gil Brandt and Tex Schramm and Tom Landry, Coach Landry, and how they did it. It was always just something that was just so appealing to me, to follow that and to study their draft picks and their scouting and the way that they did it. And I always sort of imagined myself maybe someday having a chance to do that.
Eric, I know the deadline is a couple months away, but can you say if you're leaning one way or the other with picking up Ronnie Stanley's fifth year option?
I don't want to talk about that right now. I think we have a lot of different options with Ronnie. I think he's playing extremely well, and I love the way that he finished the season this year. He really built on the successes that he had 2 years ago, and we're excited about him moving forward. He's a great young man. He's motivated. He's a good player at a really, really important position. So we'll have those discussions, I think, at some point soon.
Eric, in general, with quarterbacks, just looking at, are there any non-starters? Like, if a guy doesn't have a certain quality or innate ability, he's just not going to fit for your team? Like, it can't be taught.
At quarterback, I think they've got to be winners. They've got to have the right mentality. They've got to have an insatiable desire to work and to be the best worker in the building. I think the competitiveness is key with that position more than any other position, and leadership, I think, would be critical as well.
Eric, looking at this year's quarterback class, is that going to take the start?
No, I don't think so. To be honest with you, we loved the player last year, and we took the player last year. We didn't consider the draft this year.
Eric, do you expect Bernie to be back?
I would expect him to be back, yes, I would. I love the way he plays. He's a great leader. He's a veteran presence. He plays really well for us at different spots. He's versatile. The guy's never missed a game in his career as far as I know. I don't think he has. He's got every quality that you would want, on your team.
You talk about your relationship with Ozzie Newsome. A two-part question. How hard is it to follow that up? Follow up how he was filling his shoes and kind of set the tone for yourself. And then two, have you done anything specifically to do that? To make sure that you kind of set the tone in the building, like, all right, this is my show.
Well, I'm blessed that Ozzie's in the building still, and he's a great resource for me. He's an advisor. His wisdom, his knowledge, his humility, his work ethic, I think, motivates me every single day. And I just want to be, I guess, like Tim Cook, who followed Steve Jobs. I think we've got a great brand, we've got a good organization, a strong organization, and I want to continue that. I think we'll be different in some ways, we'll be innovative in some ways, but I'm excited about the challenge. I've been blessed to have some really, really amazing people work with me every single day. I've grown up in this organization, so I've been there 23 years, and I've had the chance to learn and watch, and I think I have an appreciation for what every single person does in the organization, in every different department, and I think that'll help me. And if I have a question, who better to ask than Ozzie Newsome? I can walk down the hallway and ask him a question. And he and I have a great relationship. I've watched every single combine with him for the last 23 years, he and I together by ourselves or with a few other people. And we'll do that again this year. So if you want to find us, look up there, and you'll see us up there in the visiting coaches box, the two of us, watching every workout together. And we've been doing that, and hopefully we can do that for another 23 years.
There's been a lot of talk about John Brown as a tool position. Is there any scenario where he could maybe fit as a guy coming back? I know his production dropped off.
Well, we love Smoke, and I think he had a really, good, season for us. I think his production dropped off a little bit when we changed the offense to a degree. We became more of a running team, but he's a playmaker. He's got great speed. He's a humble, great person. He's a good practice player, and we want as many good players as we can bring back to Baltimore, put on our team to be on our 53 roster. We'll do that.
You guys obviously have Lamar in that role, but did you see a two-quarterback system becoming the trend around the league? Something that other teams try to emulate at all?
What do you mean by a two-quarterback system?
Like running two different quarterbacks, having one package for one guy and having a traditional passer in another one.
Well, I mean, you've seen, some teams have done that to a degree this past year. And we did it a little bit early on with Joe and with Lamar. I think the Saints have done some of that as well. I think that the thing you want to do, and I'm not an offensive coordinator, an offensive coach, or a defensive coordinator, defensive coach, but I think if you can always keep your opponents kind of off balance, I think that's a good thing. So teams will get more and more creative. The game is changing every single year with different things, and these coaches are so innovative. I'm amazed at the different things they come up with every single year to help win themselves football games. So if that's playing with two quarterbacks, it's playing with two quarterbacks. The idea is really to score as many points as you can, and there's a lot of different ways to do that.
2 more questions.
Man, it's a really tough position. I think first of all, the step up in corner play at our level is significant. So the NFL, most of these really good corners are all first-round picks or high draft picks, and these are some of the most talented, skilled athletes in all of sports. I think the other thing would be the learning curve mentally with the NFL offenses, with all the different checks at the line of scrimmage, all the different things you put on those guys. The grind of practicing every single day, 16-week schedule, keeping yourself in top shape. A lot of times when these guys get behind as rookies, they get hurt early on. They don't have the chance to practice every single day, and they fall behind, and they miss practice time, and they're not quite as up-to-date as some of the other players at the position. So I think that's another aspect of it. It's just a really tough position to play. There's a lot of different factors. It's not an individual position. You've got to also have a really good quarterback who can get the ball to you as well. You're not out there on an island like a corner might be, or a left tackle who's blocking a defensive end. You've got to depend on other players to help you succeed as well, and I think that's a big part of it too.
Eric, you mentioned the offense changing potentially under Greg Roman. Were you comfortable with the amount that Lamar ran last year? Is that part of what you see possibly changing?
Well, I think we won, so I'm comfortable with that. I think Lamar made some big plays, and he stayed healthy. We're always aware of our players' health and doing what we can to protect our players. Lamar's a guy that is a playmaker, and guys make plays in different ways. So we certainly want to keep him healthy, but we also want to win, and we also want to score points. And I think the idea might be to find some other guys like Lamar who can augment his skill set and help us take some of the burden off of Lamar so that he doesn't have to carry the ball 20 times a game, whether that's a running back, a wide receiver, a combination of both, another tight end, whatever it is, to help Lamar make plays, to make some big plays on their own, to keep our players fresh.
All right, thanks, Eric.
With all the tracking data available to you guys, how do you incorporate it?
That's an ongoing, I think, work in progress. We use it. I think it's important. I think it's, a silver bullet in professional sports. I think every team is trying to find different ways to take advantage of that tracking data, bringing in really smart people to help them interpret the data, and then finding creative ways to use the information to help you, whether it's in terms of evaluating players, whether it's in terms of keeping your own players healthy, evaluating your own players. I think that's something this particular field, the player tracking GPS field, is growing leaps and bounds every single day, and the smart teams will take advantage of it as quickly as possible. Thank you, guys.